Oscar Piastri was meant to be McLaren's future. He wasn't just another young driver on the grid. Inside Woking, he was spoken about as the long-term cornerstone of the team's next dynasty, the carefully groomed successor who would restore McLaren to championship-winning greatness. When McLaren announced, just days before the 2025 season began, that Piastri had signed a contract extension running until the end of 2028, the paddock reacted with near-universal approval. It was described as a masterstroke. Locking in a generational talent before rivals could circle seemed like a move that would guarantee stability for years to come. At the time, nobody could have imagined how quickly that sense of security would transform into tension. Because what unfolded in 2025 was not simply a title battle. It became a season that reshaped careers, rewired relationships inside McLaren, and quietly planted the seeds of doubt inside Oscar Piastri himself. He led the World Championship longer than any driver that year. He delivered McLaren's most dominant run of results in over a decade. He built a commanding 34-point lead and stood on the edge of becoming Australia's first Formula One world champion since Alan Jones. And yet, when the final race was done, it was Lando Norris standing on the top step with the trophy. Now, as the sport approaches the biggest regulation reset in modern Formula One history, new evidence suggests that Piastri is no longer willing to blindly trust the team that once felt like his racing home. For the first time in his career, he has quietly placed a deadline on his future. And as fans begin to piece together what really happened behind closed doors in 2025, a dangerous question is starting to spread across the paddock. Did McLaren betray their own golden boy? Before we dive in, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss out on any of our latest videos. The story of Oscar Piastri's future cannot be separated from what truly unfolded during the 2025 Formula One season. On paper, it reads like a dream campaign. 7 Grand Prix victories, multiple dominant 1-2 finishes, a McLaren revival that delivered another Constructors' Championship and confirmed the team's return to the front of the grid. To the casual fan, Piastri's year looks like a triumphant breakthrough. But beneath the statistics lies a far more complicated and uncomfortable narrative, one that insiders believe may ultimately shape where he is racing in 2027. Piastri entered 2025 as McLaren's rising star, but not their unquestioned leader. Lando Norris was still considered the emotional heart of the team, the driver who had endured McLaren's lean years and helped pull them back into contention. Yet from the opening races, it was clear that the balance of power was shifting. Piastri was faster, calmer, and increasingly unshakable under pressure. By mid-season, he had become the benchmark. He led the World Championship for 189 days. He regularly qualified ahead of Norris. He opened up commanding gaps over both his teammate and Max Verstappen. After 15 of the 24 races, Piastri was sitting 34 points clear of Norris and an astonishing 104 points ahead of Verstappen. At that moment, the championship felt less like a possibility and more like an inevitability. Then came Monza. At the Italian Grand Prix, Piastri crossed the line in second place behind Norris. But moments earlier, over team radio, McLaren had instructed him to hand that position back. Publicly, the team framed the call as a strategic decision made to protect their drivers and maximize points. Privately, many inside the paddock believe it marked the beginning of Piastri's psychological unraveling. Formula One drivers talk constantly about momentum, confidence, and trust. Monza seemed to fracture all three at once. Piastri complied with the order, but from that weekend onward, something shifted. His radio messages became shorter. His body language cooled, and the razor-sharp consistency that had defined his early season began to fade. His results grew more erratic. Small mistakes crept into his driving. The calm authority that had once made him look like a future champion began to erode. Then the situation worsened in Austin. A sprint race collision between Piastri and Norris ended with McLaren placing the blame almost entirely on the Australian. Whether that judgment was fair or not, the optics were brutal. This was the driver who had carried McLaren through the toughest stretch of the season, and now he was being publicly singled out. For fans and paddock insiders, it felt like a message. When things went wrong, Piastri was expected to take responsibility. Singapore poured even more fuel on the fire. When Norris clashed wheels during an aggressive move for third place, McLaren once again chose not to intervene decisively. To many observers, it looked like a pattern forming. When margins were tight and tensions high, Piastri was the one being asked to absorb the consequences for the greater good of the team. This context is critical to understanding why questions about Piastri's future have intensified so dramatically. Although he signed a contract extension until 2028, sources close to the situation believe that deal contains a performance-based release clause that would allow him to walk away at the end of 2026. And crucially, Piastri has now decided when he would be willing to consider activating it. Reports indicate that Piastri and his longtime manager Mark Webber plan to wait until the middle of the 2026 season before making any definitive decision about his future. That timing is not accidental. The 2026 regulations represent the biggest technical reset Formula One has seen in decades. Entirely new power units, radically revised aerodynamics. A complete reshuffling of competitive order is expected. For a driver of Piastri's caliber, committing his prime years before seeing which teams truly master this new era would be dangerously premature. McLaren understand the risk. Losing Piastri would not simply mean losing a driver. It would mean losing the centerpiece of their long-term rebuild. And that is why contingency plans are already being quietly explored. One name that keeps resurfacing is Charles Leclerc. Ferrari's star driver has long been admired inside Woking, and should Piastri decide to leave, Leclerc could become McLaren's emergency replacement. At the same time, Ferrari are watching Piastri closely. Fred Vasseur reportedly views Piastri as a natural leader for Ferrari's next chapter, especially with uncertainty surrounding Lewis Hamilton's long-term future beyond 2026. Inside Maranello, the idea of building a new era around a young, mentally resilient driver has serious appeal. A potential seat swap or a fresh pairing in red is no longer considered fantasy. It is a scenario quietly discussed within paddock circles. However, Ferrari's historical instability remains a concern for Piastri. He is believed to want concrete proof that Maranello can finally manage a regulation overhaul without falling into its familiar strategic chaos. Red Bull cannot be ruled out either. If Max Verstappen were to trigger his own release clause, reportedly tied to falling outside the top two in the championship standings, Piastri would instantly become one of the most valuable drivers on the grid. A Verstappen exit would reshape Formula One overnight, and Red Bull would have no hesitation in pursuing a driver capable of leading them into the new technical era. Publicly, McLaren CEO Zak Brown has done everything possible to project unity. He has praised Piastri's 2025 campaign as unbelievable, highlighting his maturity, professionalism, and rapid development into a title contender. Brown insists McLaren always knew they had a star. But Formula One history teaches a brutal lesson. Words do not erase strategic decisions. For many fans, the lingering question remains unresolved. In 2025, Piastri gave everything for the team, sometimes at the expense of his own championship ambitions. When the season ended, it was Norris wearing the crown. Now, as 2026 approaches, Piastri is no longer simply racing his rivals. He is evaluating loyalty, ambition, and whether McLaren truly see him as their future, or merely a resource to be managed when convenient. And that is why his next move may define the next decade of Formula One. A storm cloud now hangs over Woking. Was 2025 a necessary sacrifice in the name of team harmony, or was it the opening chapter in McLaren's second great betrayal of Oscar Piastri? And when the dust finally settles in 2026, will Piastri still be wearing papaya, or will he be leading a new era at Ferrari, or even Red Bull? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.